Northern Telecom invites you to enter a new era in the evolution of Meridian digital communications. The Meridian1 is the most advanced, fully integrated digital voice and data communication system available today. This system will dramatically change the way businesses and individuals communicate today and in the future. As an installation technician, you are the one who will ultimately deliver the powerful capabilities of the Meridian1 to our customers. So step by step, using a field-proven route, we'll show you how to master the maze in order to reach your goal, another successful installation. Having the right tools at hand will make your job easier from start to finish. After removing the outer packing materials, it's important to inspect the equipment for any damage that may have occurred during shipping. And before you begin the installation, you will need to perform a complete inventory so that you won't get delayed unnecessarily later on. Northern Telecom has designed special ramps to facilitate the removal of the Meridian1 from its shipping pallets. A full column in the Meridian1 consists of 4 modules. However, systems shipped from the factory are a maximum of 3 modules high due to weight considerations. But 2 people can easily slide the system into position by taking the proper precautions. Once a Meridian1 column is in position, you will need to level it. And when there are multiple columns, you will also need to attach expansion kits to connect the columns. You can access the leveling feet easily by removing the front and rear grills on the column's pedestal. Adjust the leveling feet as needed to achieve a side-to-side level reading and a front-to-back level reading. To attach an expansion kit assembly, you will first need to remove the side panels of all columns that will be connected together. Remember to position the equipment columns properly before you tighten the expansion assembly screws. The Meridian1 uses an equipment module as the basic building block for each system. You can stack modules 4 high to form a column and assemble columns horizontally into bays. If you have to add a module to the column, make sure the power supplies are removed before you begin. Additionally, you will need to have another person help you to safely position the module at the top of a column. Use the positioning guides to help you line up the module, and then insert the mounting bolts. After you connect the power wiring harnesses and reattach the EMI panel and LED assembly to the top of the new module, you can reconnect the LED and thermal sensor assemblies and replace the top cap and air exhaust grills. If the installation requires an overhead cable rack, you will need to install a specially designed mounting bracket and top cap assembly. Personal hazard grounds must be installed on all equipment columns. Remember, failure to complete grounding tests properly can result in extremely unsafe conditions for personnel and serious damage to the system. Using the specified type of insulated wire, form a daisy chain of the ground lugs located in the pedestal of each column. Then, connect the last one to the isolated ground bus in the AC panel, using extreme caution. Install the system ground between the terminal board connector and the AC panel ground bus bar. Be sure to tag the ground in the AC panel with a warning label. Then, replace both the wiring access plate and the rear pedestal cover on each column. At this point in the installation, you can install a reserve power supply if the plans call for it. However, if you need to connect the Meridian1 to an uninterruptible power source, be sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions. The Meridian1 is capable of communicating with any RS-232C compatible device. Therefore, you can install the system terminal according to the manufacturer's instructions. The next step is to install a circuit pack and the internal system cabling for the serial data interface. Be sure to set the terminal and the circuit pack to the same baud rate. Then, install the cable from the terminal to the Meridian1. The disk unit occupies universal card slots in the Meridian1. Check to be sure that you are installing the correct disk interface circuit pack. The ID numbers on the data cartridge and the floppy disks provided with the system must match for proper system operation. Set the 2 option switches on the interface circuit pack. Finally, connect the disk unit to the interface with the appropriate cable. The identification strip attached to the front of each module will aid in maintaining the system once it is in operation. Some customers may elect to equip the Meridian1 with a power fail transfer unit to provide emergency communication in the event of a power failure or other catastrophe. The Meridian1 has a system monitor that continuously checks system performance. If the environmental temperature exceeds acceptable limits, the system monitor will generate a warning alarm before the Meridian1 reaches its power down threshold. The installation of alarm and monitoring cabling protects the Meridian1 from potential damage. In a multi-column system, you need to designate one monitor as the master. Cable the master to the slave monitors in the other columns in a daisy chain fashion. Then, using a special cable, connect the master system monitor to the serial data interface circuit pack in the module housing the master CPU. System functions in the Meridian1 are performed by high-density circuit packs. Although particular functions may differ, circuit cards share some common features, such as onboard intelligence for the Meridian1's distributed processing architecture. All circuit packs in the Meridian1 are installed in the same manner. If appropriate, begin by setting the Enable-Disable switch to the Disable position. Then, set the appropriate option switches on each circuit pack. Next, disengage the locking devices and insert the circuit pack into the card guides in the shelf. Push until you feel some resistance. Finally, close the locking devices and set the Enable-Disable switch to the Enable position. Cabling requirements for the Meridian1's common equipment will depend on the number of CPUs and network modules in the system. The proper routing of common equipment cable is critical to a successful Meridian1 installation. Therefore, remember to allow room for future system growth so that you can add network modules to the left of the CPUs and intelligent peripheral modules to the right. The Meridian1 utilizes a changeover and memory arbitrator in each common equipment module so that system control can be switched from the main CPU to the alternate in the event of a CPU bus fault. Therefore, you will need to connect the changeover and memory arbitrators as well as each common equipment module to each other. In Meridian1 systems with multiple network modules, you will also need to connect each of the following components to the intergroup module: the clock controller for each CPU, and the intergroup switch packs for each network group. Then, you can connect the segmented bus extender packs to the 3-port extender packs located in each network shelf. Additionally, other cable connections are required between individual network shelves. The Meridian1 Superloop network card provides 120 time slots that can be assigned to up to 32 intelligent peripheral cards with 32 ports on each card. The controller card in the intelligent PE module provides the interface between the Superloop network card and the intelligent PE module. Before you begin to install the network cabling, refer to the customer's work order to determine the number of Superloops and the loop number assigned to each, the location of the Superloop network circuit packs, and the location of the intelligent PE module or modules assigned to the Superloop. You can connect 4 Superloop network cards to a single intelligent PE module or 2 Superloop cards to 1 or 2 intelligent PE modules, depending on the customer's grade of service requirements. Begin by setting the Enable-Disable switch on the Superloop network card to Disable, and then insert it into its assigned slot. Next, connect the controller card in each intelligent PE module to 1 or more of the Superloop network cards. You have some flexibility in installing the network cabling, although the majority of the cabling should be routed through the rear of the equipment modules whenever possible. At this point in the Meridian1 installation, it is vital to perform an inspection of all the equipment. Check to see that you have properly set all option switches, plugs, and faceplate switches, seated and locked all circuit packs in their assigned positions, secured all cable connectors, properly designated all modules and equipment columns, and set all circuit breakers to the off position. You can add items to this checklist to ensure that all equipment installation tasks have been performed before you power up the columns. To ensure proper operation, follow the system power-up instructions very carefully. Make sure that the system terminal is connected to the Meridian1 so that you can see the initial maintenance messages generated by the system. Now it's time to power up the Meridian1. Check to be sure that the main circuit breaker located at the rear of each pedestal is set to the off position. Next, set the module circuit breakers to the on position. Then, set the circuit breaker for the blowers to the on position. This breaker is located in the front of each pedestal. Next, connect the power cords from each pedestal to the AC power supply outlet. Finally, reset all main circuit breakers to the on position. Insert the software diskettes. Then, simultaneously press the reload buttons on each changeover and memory arbitrator circuit pack to reload the system again. The LED on the front of one of the disk drives should light to indicate that the data is being copied from the disk into the system's memory. The LEDs on the memory packs will flash as memory checks take place. You will see the display on the faceplate of the active interface circuit pack, indicating the status of the disk drive. And finally, the system will output a message to the system terminal when the software loading is complete, and then automatically load another program to initialize the system. Once you have powered up the Meridian1, you can define the system's database. Start by defining configuration records 1 and 2, because the remainder of the database relies on this information. When the system's parameters have been set, define the peripheral controller information. And finally, program the Meridian1 superloops. Segmentation of the superloops will depend on the customer's requirements for grades of service. The Meridian1's intelligent peripheral equipment modules support both analog and digital trunks. The universal trunk card interfaces up to 8 analog trunks, and the extended E&M trunk card interfaces up to 4 analog trunks. You can configure ports individually on both cards through the system software. And a Digitone receiver circuit pack furnishes up to 8 channels for DTMF or MF tone detection. Using the work order, determine the location of each line or trunk connection. Then, assign and record the terminal numbers for each line or trunk connected to the Meridian1. Also, allow enough slack in the wiring when you cross-connect the lines or trunks in order to facilitate changes later on. Now, it's time to perform the final test of all the equipment. Congratulations! You have mastered the maze. The Meridian1's step-by-step training program ensures a successful journey every time.